Hello and welcome to Capital Inc., a program talking Canberra news and views. We're here at Newcastle Studios in Braddon. My name's Chris Kimball. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Joining me today, Harry Frost from Win News.
Good to be here.
Welcome to Capital Inc., Harry.
Thanks for having me on.
Ginger Gorman, social affairs commentator and journalist. Kristen Henry from Mix 106.3
Hello.
Breakfast. And Emma MacDonald, senior reporter from the Canberra Times. Welcome, guys. Guys, we're talking e-cigs. Electronic cigarettes are devices that heat liquid to produce a vapour which users inhale. The risks of electronic cigarettes are not yet known and the subject of debate amongst many health experts. The ACT government is considering introducing restrictions on e-cigarettes, treating them as though they were normal cigarettes. Proponents say the ACT's strict tobacco control laws limiting smoking in bars and public areas has led to Canberra having the lowest smoking rates in the country. I think it's less than 10% now. E-cigs, they're saying, should be included in those restrictions. Critics argue there is no evidence that vaporisers are harmful and can actually help addicts give up cigarettes. Kristen Henry, what do you reckon?
Look, I mean, I always fight the idea of a nanny state. I think that you've got to fully take responsibility of anything that you're putting into your body. And if you choose to smoke or if you choose to go to e-cigarettes, then it's your own problem. That, and I also think that smoking in general at the moment is a bit of a no-no. You know, if you're out on Lonsdale Street and at Hopscotch and want to have a cigarette, you've got to basically drive to Tuggeranong until you can actually have one. But an e-cigarette for me, isn't that the equivalent of having a mid-strength compared to a full strength? I sort of think there's probably enough regulation around it as it is.
But if we're saying you can't smoke in these public areas, is this allowing a semi sort of smoking in those areas? Are we diluting what's been successful?
But
clearly?
you're not inhaling, like I've got a couple of mates that regularly use e-cigarettes and you're not inhaling anything if they're sitting next to you smoking. I mean, the reason they did it was partly for health reasons, although I will say the Therapeutic Goods Administration says the jury's out. So there's not enough research, there's not enough evidence to say whether they are as harmful. But very anecdotally, my mates who used to be pack and a half a day smokers have gone on to e-cigarettes. Their breathing is better and they're not wheezing as much and they feel more active. But that's just a couple of people. Obviously that's not based on scientific research. So they're not, I don't feel that I'm inhaling their smoke when I'm with them and they're smoking. How harmful it is for them is a different story.
Do they think though that it's a good way to wean themselves off? Because all the evidence I've read is that you're just as addicted to an e-cig as you are a normal cig, and I think it's a bit of a fallacy if we're going to think that, you know, an e-cig is a gentle letdown. You are still addicted. There's still that oral fixation. It's still the habit. It's not breaking anything. It's just putting it in a different form. And in fact, I think it's really sad that we're going to allow these things in when they just normalise the whole smoking kind of routine. I think, let's go hell for leather. Smoking kills you. I am the most vociferous anti-smoker you will get. I would just make the point that having spent 2 months with my mum in the hospice while she died of lung cancer, you don't think about that when you're lighting up and you're young and you think, I'll be fine. Cool. But, dying of lung cancer, I can't imagine a more terrifying, difficult, horrible way to die. Every cigarette is doing you damage. If people haven't got the message, I'm sorry, that they're on their own, and let's not bring in e-cigarettes, which, may I point out, are also backed by all the big tobacco companies. Let's not think that we're doing anyone a favour.
And they contain nicotine as well.
They do, yeah.
And at the end of the day, even though we don't have the
addictive
research about what effect the smoke has, we know that nicotine causes harm, particularly for teenagers, for pregnant people. It harms children with their brain development. And I think the argument about secondhand smoke, although there's no evidence to show that it physically doesn't have an effect, think about the effect it has, the message it perhaps sends to people. And until we have that firm research, should the onus really be on the public to provide evidence that the secondhand smoke causes an issue? Shouldn't the onus be on the manufacturers? And until they have proved that to us, they should be treated just like cigarettes.
And they're definitely, my mates are definitely addicted to them. One of the things that's interesting is possibly about taxes, because people are ordering them online. So they're mostly ordering them from the US and other places. So the Australian government is not making any money from people ordering them, and you've got to wonder whether governments are concerned about them partly for that reason, or is it really just health that they're
And
worried
what about
about?
Canberra specifically? I mean, we did lead the country with some of the smoking
Yeah, but
laws, and as a result,
we have the laxest e-cigarette laws
Yeah,
of
yeah,
any
that's-
state or
so
territory.
that's what I'm
it's
saying,
bizarre.
yeah.
It's a contradiction in terms. And also, let's not forget, you can buy these things with lolly flavours, and the vapor is, you know, it's meant to be, you know, tasty, or it's being marketed to potentially younger people who, you know, mightn't think of smoking but might think this is a fun thing to do. I think they're really
And
dangerous.
they're long, like Audrey Hepburn kind of
Right.
styles. So you've got to wonder if people are attaching, especially younger people, are attaching kind of elegance
look.
to it as well. It's not just about the taste, but you know, there's a concern for me that my daughters might find it fashionable. You know, and they might think that it's funky or.
But
it's a
that's how
funky look.
smoking. That's how smoking got in. It was, you know, it was a fashion. It was a fashion, and by the end of this century, 1 billion human beings will have had their life shortened by tobacco. I just think, let's not kid ourselves. E-cigarettes are cigarettes. If they're delivering nicotine, it's just promoting the same addiction. I understand the addiction is very, very tricky to combat. I feel bad for people with long-term addictions, but they have to accept what they're doing is damaging their bodies. They have to accept that.
And there is alternatives as well. There's patches, there's gum, there's a whole range of different...
Which takes that oral fixation and that glamour and that potential fashionability
Away.
Well,
and
out
it's
of the
not
equation.
visible. It's not in your face.
Yep.
It's not. Yep.
And there's even
Yeah.
nicotine inhalers, which don't work like an e-cigarette, which you can still get the nicotine from. You can still do that physical action of placing the cigarette up to your mouth.
Yeah,
But
it's breaking. I think the thing that annoys me most about them is there's no incentive to break the habit. You think, oh, I
They're
need
still
something, and you
habitual.
still, yeah, it's a ritual. It's a ritualized, you know, ritualized damage to a human body. I just
Anyone who's sat holding their mum's hand as she died of lung cancer is an expert.
Yeah.
You are an expert. You
I
don't
reckon.
deserve
I
hate
reckon take the smokers into the hospice for a quick tour and see the people dying of lung cancer, and I think it will hit home very quickly that every cigarette is doing damage.
And there's something, I mean, Ginger, you could probably relate to it too. You know, anyone who's spent any decent time in a chemo lounge at one of the Canberra hospitals, and you walk downstairs, and the first thing you do is they've changed the laws now, which is a really
You
good
walk
thing in
through
a
a
short
cloud
period
of
of time.
smoke.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it just is like a punch in the guts.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're in the one place in the world that you do anything not to be there, and you walk down the stairs, and you're immediately confronted with people doing the one thing that's most likely to put you in
Absolutely.
there. So,
Yeah.
It's true. I remember being incredibly pregnant. So I'd had cancer a few years earlier, and that's what I was doing at the hospital in Cairns. I went in and kept having to have checks because of my previous illness. And I walked pregnant into the endocrinology ward through a cloud of people smoking, and a lot of them were amputees. And I thought, my God, like, I'm here because I have to be here. You're here possibly because of what you've done to yourself, you know. And I mean, this is probably a bigger question about the health system, but I did find it heartbreaking.
Well, it is an emotive issue. It is one that's deeply personal to a lot of people, and it is obviously a habit that some people find incredibly difficult to break. So it is one that inspires many emotions on all areas. Let us know what you think of this issue. What do you think of e-cigs? Do you think there should be more regulation? Are we going the right way with this? Please get in touch with us.